Hello everyone, thank you for tuning in. Please like this video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't yet, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss future content. Now, let's get into today's story. We are watching a powerful moment unfolding in Kenya. The body of veteran politician Raila Odinga has arrived in Nairobi, and the scenes at the airport have drawn thousands of mourners. In what has become much more than protocol, it's a spontaneous public outpouring from a leader who clearly touched many lives. According to reports, his body landed at Jomo Kenyatta International Airport, JKIA, in Nairobi on Thursday, October 16, 2025, and immediately the mood shifted from official to deeply emotional. Here's how the story is unfolding. The chartered flight carrying his remains touched down, and despite a strong security presence, including military, National Youth Service and police, a massive crowd of his supporters surged forward, chanting, waving flags and demanding to be close to the ceremony. The bridge barriers and even the plane's tarmac area felt the impact of this public emotion. Security had to mobilize fast. The coffin was moved into a black hearse under heavy escort. The crowd pressed in, vehicles were diverted, roads got congested, and according to one report, operations at the airport were briefly suspended for about 2 hours due to the crowd surge. Now, why is this moment significant? A couple of reasons. The man himself, Raila Odinga, had been a towering figure in Kenyan politics for decades. He died in India at the age of 80, where he had gone for medical treatment. He ran for the presidency 5 times, served as prime minister in a unity government, and was widely seen as a champion of democracy and reform in Kenya. His political journey brought both admiration and controversy, but the magnitude of public reaction now reflects that he meant a lot to many people. The public reaction. The fact that thousands turned out at the airport and overwhelmed even the security planning indicates that this is more than a formal farewell. It is a collective moment of national expression, grief, respect, perhaps even grievance. For his supporters, he was affectionately called Baba, Father, and that appellation shows how personal their connection felt. The wider implications. For Kenya, this is a moment that lays bare how political figures can become emotional anchors for people. When a leader reaches that level of connection, their passing becomes a national event, and the mechanics of security, protocol, logistics, and public safety suddenly become very complex. The images from JKIA reveal all that: barriers being breached, roads packed, crowds chanting. Let me walk you through some of the details so we all understand what happened, and why this matters even beyond Kenya. When the body arrived, security officials had expected large numbers, but perhaps not the intensity of the crowd. The supporters gathered ahead of time, and when the plane landed, they surged forward chanting, "Baba has arrived." He had become more than a politician, a symbol. Despite the cordon, they pressed in, some motorcycles in the crowd, some waving twigs, which has cultural resonance in Kenya. Because the airport tarmac and arrival zone were overwhelmed, for safety and to proceed with the official ceremony they had to move the coffin and escort route, and adjust the staging area. What should have been a formal, dignified arrival turned into a raw, public moment of collective mourning spilling into the airport grounds. Security had prepared ambulances, medical teams, and emergency response units, recognizing the scale of the gathering. Again, this shows how big the turnout was expected, and still it outdid expectations. Now from Kenya's political context, the death of Raila Odinga comes at a time when the political atmosphere in East Africa remains dynamic. His passing removes a major fixture in Kenyan opposition politics, and one who had recently entered a political agreement with the current President William Ruto. So the void left is not just personal, but political. For Nigerians watching this, there are lessons and reflections. How do societies mourn major political figures? How do spontaneous public sentiments interact with formal state machinery? What does it say about the relationship between leaders and their supporters? How do security, logistics, crowd control adapt to emotions, not just protocol? Let's step into some of the emotional, human side of this. Imagine you are one of the supporters at the airport. You have traveled, you have waited, and when the body arrives you feel a surge of relief that at least you are present, you are part of saying goodbye. That kind of emotion defies any agenda. It's raw. And it also can turn chaotic, as we have seen. On the flip side, authorities have to maintain order, respect protocol, protect lives. That balance is delicate. In fact, Further reports show that later at public viewings in Nairobi and in Kisumu, his home region, there was even violence, police firing, stampedes, injuries, and fatalities. So the funeral events are turning into a major national moment full of complexity. You might ask, why did so many people risk being in that crowd? What drives this level of turnout? I want to explore that. Identity and legacy. Raila Odinga was from the Luo community in western Kenya, but his appeal extended far beyond. Yet for many in his home region especially, his passing is deeply personal. Political disappointment and catharsis. For supporters who feel he was denied victory or who allied with him for change, this is a moment of collective grief and reflection on unfulfilled promises. Ritual and respect. In many African societies, paying respect to a revered leader is communal and public. You don't just send a message, you show up. Memory and moment. When a public figure of this magnitude dies, the moment becomes part of history, and people want to be part of that history. For our viewers in Nigeria, you may compare how we observe the passing of our own national figures and what the public reaction is. It raises questions. Are our logistics ready? Do we have safe crowd management? Do we integrate emotion and protocol? There's something to learn. Another interesting angle, the interplay between formality, state arrival, military honors, protocol, and spontaneity, crowds breaking through, emotional chants, informal expressions. When thousands show up in force, the formal structures get challenged. The arrival at JKIA shows exactly that. They expected big, but the emotion made it bigger. Let's reflect on the numbers and scale. While exact figures are hard to pin down, reports say thousands at the airport, and later thousands at stadium viewings. In one case, airport operations were paused because of the crowd surge. That tells us, this is not a minor event. Also consider the safety issues, where people press through barriers, where potential stampede risk exists, where emotional crowds can be hard to control, where even routine protocols get disrupted. In the days following the arrival, there were reports of fatalities during viewing ceremonies. So this is not just about paying respects, it's also a reminder of public safety responsibilities. Now, what next? The public viewing continues, the state funeral is scheduled soon, burial arrangements to be done. The government had declared a week of national mourning. The supporters' reaction will shape how the rest of the ceremony goes. Also important will be how the political legacy of Raila Odinga will be handled in Kenya's future. Will his movement sustain? Will his supporters feel their voices are still heard? These are open questions. For us watching as Nigerians, it's also a chance to think, how do we honor leaders? How do we ensure the public can participate safely? How do we manage the intersection of politics, identity, grief, and public order? If you're watching this, drop a comment. What do you think about the scale of emotion we're seeing? Have you witnessed similar events in Nigeria where a major figure's passing triggered mass turnout? What worked, what didn't? Let me know in the comment section below. Before I wrap up this segment, I'll summarize the key takeaways. The arrival of Raila Odinga's body at JKIA turned into a massive, emotional public event, thousands of mourners, burial breaches, intense crowd scenes. The man, a major political figure in Kenya, died at 80 in India, had a big legacy of fighting for democracy and reform. The public reaction, enthusiastic, raw, emotionally charged, shows how deeply connected a leader can become to the people. The system response, heavy security, adjustments to protocol, medical teams, but still overwhelmed. The wider lesson, public mourning for big figures is not just about ritual, it's about identity, memory, and sometimes politics. Our local angle, as Nigerians, we can reflect on how we manage similar events, what we expect of our public institutions, and how the people respond when emotion meets state ceremony. Alright folks, we will keep monitoring this story, how the state funeral goes, how the burial in his home region happens, how Kenya deals with its mourning and memory of Raila Odinga, and what impact that will have on politics in East Africa. If you enjoyed this update, please like this video, subscribe if you're new here ***, and share this with your friends so they are aware of this important story. I'd appreciate if you hit the bell icon too so you're notified the next time we drop an update.